Hi, so now we're going to talk about things to potentially avoid eating during this postpartum period. All right. Again, I know I keep saying this, we're not going to be dogmatic about this, but if we are trying to consume the most optimal diet postpartum to maximize healing and getting back to ourselves, then these are the things that we're going to avoid. If you can't avoid them, if you don't want to, that is your choice. I'm just going to explain why these things might be on the list. All right, so we've got raw foods, cold drinks, cold foods, alcohol and toxins, especially environmental toxins, really. Potentially caffeine, but I know that's a hot topic. Diet foods and excessive sugar. So let's dive in. So raw foods. We all know that fruits and vegetables are healthy for us, and I wonder if it will come as a surprise to see raw foods on this list. The reason why it is because the body has to work harder to digest raw foods. So food that is cooked is at least partially processed already from the cooking or broken down. And that basically kind of helps our body to digest because it's starting the breakdown process before we've even eaten it. So, and for some foods, cooking kind of unlocks certain nutrients and helps with absorption. So that's the reason why raw foods aren't the most efficient foods for our bodies to process, therefore not the best for healing when our bodies are trying to focus on other things. Same thing kind of goes for cold foods. So this comes from traditional Chinese medicine. Our bodies are apparently in a cold state after birth. And really after any surgery, medical trauma, anything like that. And we need to be warmed with healing foods. Cold foods and drinks do not promote healing as they're more difficult for the body to digest, thus making the body work harder by driving away resources that it could be using to heal us. That's the theory behind that. Does it mean don't eat salad in your postpartum period? No. Does it mean don't make smoothies if that's the way to get calories into your body? No, I did both of those things postpartum. But I think it's just an idea to wrap our heads around that maybe if you're thinking salads and smoothies are the most healthy thing for you to eat postpartum, they might actually not be serving you as well as you think. Same thing, cold drinks. Cold drinks constrict blood vessels. So it makes the body work harder to bring it back up to body temperature so that it can utilize the water. Warm/tepid water promotes muscle relaxation, circulation, and digestion, all of which are important while healing. And I will say, do not avoid water because you're worried about the temperature. If the only way you can drink water is ice cold, drink your water. The first priority is to hydrate however you are able. Alcohol and smoking. It goes without saying that those are not conducive to healing, but again, we are not dogmatic here. If you are having cocktails postpartum because you weren't able to throughout your pregnancy, then have at it. But, while you're healing, you might not be wanting to do that too much right away anyway. So again, you don't want your body to be using its resources filtering out unwanted toxins when it could be healing faster. Alcohol reduces white blood cells, which help process out waste and bacteria. Excessive alcohol use can slow wound healing. But like I said, when you're healing postpartum, I doubt that you're diving right back into hardcore drinking. And then, of course, smoking restricts blood flow to the skin, which can slow healing and increase blood clot risk. So, of course, there's a lot of other health risks associated with smoking, but those are just some things to consider specifically healing postpartum, especially if you have a wound. Environmental toxins. We haven't talked a lot about this yet, I don't think. Our toxic load refers to the buildup of harmful chemicals that can accumulate in our systems from a variety of sources. So anything from personal care and beauty products, lotions, shampoos, body washes, especially things with retinol in them. Cleaning products, which of course we know can be toxic, and you can just, even from smelling them, know that there's a lot of chemicals in there. Air and water quality, food additives and pesticides, plastics, and nonstick cookware. Along with the air and water quality can come into factor, like if you're in a house that has mold in it or something. So all of those contribute to things that our body has to really work to process through and process out. So if we can eliminate our toxic load or limit it as much as possible, then our body will be in a better state for healing. So caffeine, there is no judgment here. This is completely going to be based on what works for you, what makes you feel good. If you're breastfeeding, especially postpartum, a moderate amount of caffeine is not likely going to impact your baby. They say moderate is around 2 to 3 cups of coffee per day, but just in your baby, watch for irritability or increased difficulty sleeping. If so, and if it's a problem, try cutting back to see if it helps. Can't hurt. You know your body and your baby best. Also, when you're healing, I didn't put it here, but caffeine is a stimulant and it is something that your body has to process out. So if you are having trouble, maybe caffeine is the crutch that isn't actually serving you. Something to think about. Low-fat foods and artificial sweeteners. So I have said this is not the time for dieting. And even if you are trying to lose the baby weight, low-fat foods and artificial sweeteners actually are not the way to do that anyway. So low-fat dairy is not healthier. You are healing, and if breastfeeding especially, are supporting another human still. Low-fat packaged products just replace fat with additives and sweeteners. So especially the shelf-stable ones like salad dressings, low-fat crackers, cookies, things like that, they're just pumping in more chemicals and sweeteners to make the food still taste good when they've removed the fat. It is not any healthier to be eating these low-fat products. It actually could be detrimental with all of the food additives and artificial sweeteners, which have been linked to heart palpitations and cancers and contain unnecessary chemicals. I have said this in my sugar detox trainings before, but if I ask you to actually completely eliminate one food for the rest of your life, I would beg you to eliminate artificial sweeteners. They do not serve us, and they actually don't aid us in weight loss. If you are diabetic and it is medically required for you to use artificial sweeteners in order to be able to have anything sweet, I think that is a medical situation for you, and that is a personal choice. But if that is not your issue, I really strongly discourage them. There's my soapbox. Also, excessive sugar. So I'm not going to tell you not to eat sweets or indulgent treats to make you happy when you're recovering. Lord knows I did myself. But it's just good to be mindful about our intake, because I know that you're breastfeeding and we do want to be eating enough calories, but we should still be a little bit mindful of how much sugar we're taking in, because it does impact our hormones, which are already in serious need of balancing postpartum. And processing that sugar out requires the resources the body is better off using for healing. I'm a broken record with that, but that's the whole purpose of all of these nutritional recommendations, right? Is to provide our body with the purest nutrients so that we can heal as fast as we can. So next up, we're going to talk about vitamins and supplements, but I'm not planning on doing a video on this yet. I can, but I'm going to list them in a text module. So please don't fret. Remember, getting food and liquid in the body is a priority here. I keep saying that. There is science to back up why avoiding certain types and temperatures of food and liquid could be optimal for healing. But only worry about this if you have the bandwidth to do so. We are giving ourselves grace during this time. We are not trying to go out of our way to be perfect. We're just trying to heal. And part of my mission here is to try to help you do it in the most informed way possible. So eat what you want to eat, but just with all the information so you can make the choice you want to make. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.